So, Debbie, thank you for taking a couple of minutes. This is a perfect Saturday morning in Oxford. And B, it's a lovely event. Tell us a little bit about what's going to happen here today, Deb.
Okay, what we're doing today, Chuck, is we are honoring 6 of our founding daughters of the John Crawford chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So what we've done ahead of time is we have placed the DAR insignia on their headstones. So today what we will do is we're going to read off each name and have a short bio about each woman. And then after that, we are going to honor our own local historian, Drew Holt, with the Historic Preservation Recognition Award from our national headquarters in D.C. And so we're very excited about that.
Why do you think it's important for people to acknowledge the past and to acknowledge the contribution that people who are no longer around made in the past? Why do you think it's important enough to have an event like this today?
In order to understand where we are today, you have to understand what came before us. You have to understand the sacrifice, the true sacrifice that these folks made for us to be here today. And with the semi-quincentennial coming up, America 250, I'm hoping that especially our little town, that we celebrate large for that event because it's important to us. And, you know, there's the saying, I think it's from Egypt or whatever, you have 2 deaths. Your first one and then the second one, that when the last person says your name, and we don't want to not say their name.
So today is about saying their name.
It's about saying their name.
So how did you get involved in this particular endeavor?
Part of the DAR, do you mean? Years ago, my mother-in-law happened to mention that she thought my sister-in-law would qualify for a Daughter of the American Revolution. I had no idea what she was talking about. Well, my family's from Appalachia. I knew we had been here a long time, and we're very patriotic. I had parents that wore patriotic T-shirts at Christmas time, you know. So I thought once I retired and I had the time to devote, I'd figure out and see if I had a patriot in my ancestry, and I do. Josiah Markham from Virginia, who is buried in West Virginia.
How did you find that person, and how do you consider them to be a patriot?
The DAR has an extensive genealogy database, and we also have what we call registrars, that once you find that chapter that you might want to be part of, that registrar will help you find your lineage. All you have to do is bring in, I believe it is 3 generations, and they can go from there to try to find your connection. And it has to be a direct line, can't be cousins and uncles, it has to be a direct line. But if anybody can find it, they can find it.
Presume this is all online now, or
yes. Some of it, I will say just about all of it's online. So once in a great while, we'll have someone travel to the city, or they'll call the clerk in, Salt Lick, Kentucky, and we'll find out what record it is, and or even your local library, especially when you're looking up data from old newspapers and things.
So one last, if people didn't get to this event, which some people don't, but might want to come back after the fact and find out who has been honored on this day in this cemetery, how could they find out where those headstones are?
If you go on Facebook, we have a local Facebook page. It's John Crawford chapter NSDAR, and it says Oxford/Almont, because we cover all the way out to Almont. And you can ask us there, and there's information on that Facebook page to reach out to us.
Here we are on a beautiful Saturday morning in May, and there's a nice event that's happening behind us, and Andrew is part of this. So, Andrew, first of all, thanks for taking some time to talk with us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
It's good to see you again.
Yes.
So tell us what your part of this day's activity is, please. Why are you here, and why are we kind of proud to be a part of your orbit?
Sure. So today I'm getting a Historic Preservation Award from the Daughters of the American Revolution. So part of what I do is I'm a board member of the Northeast Oakland Historical Society. I'm also a docent at the Historical Museum, and I do a lot of research of the museum, and I put these articles out to the paper, to the people actually, and just kind of spreading history and doing that. And so today I'm being awarded kind of for continuing to preserve history, which is the goal of the Historical Society.
Why do you think history is important to us, and why do you think history is fascinating to you?
I don't know why it's fascinating to me. I just love looking in the past. Some people like looking in the future with Star Wars and Star Trek, but I really like looking in the past. If I can see an old photo or even a ceremony that's been happening for hundreds of years, that really does something for me. And I think it's important to preserve that in order to better our future.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate your participation in this community. It helps people to know something about our past. Tell us about the museum a minute. Hours, time, whether people can come and make an appointment. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So the Northeast Oakland Historical Museum is at 1 North Washington, which is the northwest corner of downtown, Burdick Street and Washington Street. And we're open Thursdays and Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Now, the docents and everybody, they all go in early to work on research, to work on maintaining the museum, that kind of thing. And then we're open for those hours. That's based on how many volunteers we have at the time. So, yeah, 1 day a week and 1 weekend day.
So people can just drop in and look around?
Absolutely. It's a free museum. We have guides that are always there. And when you come in, we'll greet you. And we can either let you walk around and browse yourself, or we can give you a little half tour, or we can give you the full tour. It's up to you. And if that day doesn't work for you, if Thursday or Saturday, you can contact us and we will do a free tour at your leisure with however many people you need. That's a service we've always done. We've had a lot of big families come in different events.
I can tell you from my side, Drew and his team there at the museum, fascinating people who are fascinated with the history of this way far in the past for us. We're just part of a long story here, aren't we?
We are, absolutely. So I'm glad to preserve the history, and there's a lot of rich history here in Oxford and North Oakland County, and I love sharing that with young people as well. So.
Well, from today, thank you, and congratulations on getting an award. It's well deserved. I know you put a lot of heart and soul into this, so thank you, my friend.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
So for Drew, this is Chuck saying, stay tuned. It's going to be
Oh, say does that star spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Beautiful
Did you
job.
see the flag unfurling? The wind blew it just as she was singing. It was beautiful.
Beautiful. Great job. Okay, everyone can be seated. All right, so I want to say welcome. I want to say thank you to everyone who prayed for this beautiful weather today. Thank you, Lord. It is perfect for what we want to do. And I would also like to mention several special guests who joined us today. We have CJ Carnaccio. He is the Communications and Grants Manager, Oxford Township. We have Chuck Cameron from OCTV, who's here to film for us. And we have Jim Newell from the Oxford Leader. It means a lot in a small community to have that kind of support, and allows us to get our story out to those that we frequent with every day. So at this time, I'll explain just a bit. We are here today to honor the lives and the markings that we already did, the insignia marking of 6 founding daughters of John Crawford chapter. At this time, I'd like to turn the ceremony over to Mary Sakala, our Historic Preservation Co-Chair, as well as our chapter chaplain. Mary. It is very much a challenge hanging on to these papers. Okay. Set it right there. You got it? Okay.
Good morning. In 2020, the chapter conceived the project idea to add the National Society Daughters of American Revolution insignia to all our founding members' grave sites as we move toward America 250. First, we needed to identify the locations of all our founders' grave sites, many in Lake Orion and Oxford, Michigan. Others more remote and out of state would need coordination with other DAR chapters. One founder had no headstone at all. Founders already having insignia are Dr. Eileen Betsy Corbett, founding regent, Elizabeth Crawford Taylor, founding historian, and Nettie Laird Anderson, founding corresponding secretary. In 2022, the chapter worked in conjunction with Blanche Sims Elementary School in Lake Orion to honor and remember founding member Blanche Sims and place the National Society DAR insignia on her grave. Former State of Michigan DAR Regent Kelly Van Warmer, board members, community students, and television coverage were in attendance. In the fall of 2023, support was provided by Henry M. Malberg Funeral Home for an engraved headstone for Elizabeth Crawford Saunders. Insignia was placed on her newly installed headstone, which was then dedicated in June of 2024. Fall of 2024 had our chapter historians seeking a grant to purchase National Society Daughters of the American Revolution insignia for the rest of our founding members. The grant was gratefully received from Louisa St. Clair chapter of Grosse Pointe, Michigan in January. Today we remember 6 founding members and will now have members of our chapter read biographies of the founders here at Ridgelawn and Oakland cemeteries. Cora Webster Francis.
Cora Webster Francis was born October 3rd, 1880 in Metamora, Lapeer, Michigan. She is the daughter of Alberto D. Webster and Frankie Elizabeth Coriel. In 1882, a brother was born, Scott Mitten, and in 1883, a second brother, Charles Alberto, is born. Since the 1890 census is not available, we could only assume she led a typical life in Metamora, went to school, and was raised on the family farm. We next meet Cora in the 1900 census, when she is 20 years old and a school teacher by profession. She is living with her family in Metamora. On June 15, 1904, in Metamora, she marries Porter Seth Francis. Research has found Porter's father, Seth, was somewhat of a hero during the Civil War and honored on his return to the area. This couple has one child and names him Webster Seth Francis. In 1910, the couple moves to Calvert Avenue in Detroit. But by 1920, they are living on Pontiac Street in Oxford, and Porter is working as a dealer in the coal and lumber. Porter also owns 8 acres of land in Brandon. Cora joins the John Crawford chapter in 1918, the same year women get the vote. The couple moves to Pontiac on Oneida Road in 1930. Their son is 22 years old. Porter is a dealer in coal and lumber, and Cora is keeping house. They also have a boarder living with them, which is common at that time. 1940 brings the couple still in Pontiac, and Porter still working as a dealer of coal and lumber. We find information that Cora went to high school through the 3rd year before she started teaching school. Hard work and perseverance pay off. Cora and Porter moved to Pine Lake Road in West Bloomfield in 1950. Porter has become the owner of the coal company. Cora's aunt, Catherine Coriel Reed, is living with this couple. Cora was deceased of Abraham Coriel, Cora was a descendant of Abraham Coriel, a patriot from New Jersey who served with the Middlesex Company militia. Cora passes away in 1985. Porter lives on for another 10 years. They are buried at Ridgelawn Cemetery in Oxford, Section C, Lot 23, Grade 1 and 2.
Thank you.
Do you need to sit down, Mary?
No. Catherine Coriel Reed.
Catherine was born June 2nd, 1870 in Metamora, Lapeer County, Michigan. She is the daughter of Abram Byron Coriel and Catherine Swayze Hummer of Metamora. The Coriel family arrived in the Lapeer County area as early as 1850. Catherine is 10 years old in 1880 and living with her family in Metamora. She is going to school and living on the family farm. On December 24th, 1891, Catherine marries David Reed, who is a railroad conductor in Thomas Bay County, Michigan. He was originally from the Metamora area, so they possibly knew each other from those days. By 1900, the couple has moved to Detroit and is living on Harrison Avenue, and in 1910, they are still at this residence. David is now a motorman for the railroad. The couple moves to Ferry Park Avenue in 1920, and David is a motorman for the streetcar company on the streets of Detroit. In 1930, finds them still on Ferry Park Avenue, and David is listed as a motorman for the streetcar railway. David passes away on November 19, 1932, at the age of 74 of cirrhosis of the liver. The couple have no children. At some point, Catherine moves in with her niece, Cora Webster Francis, in Bloomfield Hills. She appears with this couple on the 1950 census. In November 3rd, 1950, Catherine passes away at 80 years in Pontiac. She is buried in Ridgelawn Cemetery, grave 5.
Thank you. Get your flower. Connie, the flower.
Pardon me?
You have to put the flower in the wreath.
Where is it?
Right over here.
Oh.
Just stick it in there.
I know. I want to bring it down.
That's good. Just, we'll make it,
We'll do it.
we'll fancy it up later.
Yeah.
Mildred Betsy Dennis.
Founding member Mildred Betty's national number 134737 was born April 7th, 1885 in Oxford, Oakland County, Michigan, to John Wetmore Betty's and Clara Crawford. John is a farmer and Clara is keeping house in the village of Oxford. The family was a believer in education for their children. Eileen, founding regent of John Crawford chapter of the DAR, Mildred, and Harry J. In 1900, this family is living on Washington Street in Oxford. Sisters Eileen and Mildred go on to school at University of Michigan. Eileen is pursuing a medical degree and Mildred is receiving her degree in literature, science, and the arts. Both young ladies are a part of a very small group of females receiving an education at this university at the time. Mildred meets Philip Edward Dennis at Michigan University. He was born January 19, 1877 in Canada. They marry August 28, 1909 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Oxford Leader newspaper of this time reports that the wedding took place in the home of Mildred's aunt, Anna E. Betty's. The ring bearer carries the ring in a lily. Thelma Crawford, a cousin, carried rose petals which she scattered before the bride. There was present a large congregation of people on hand to witness the wedding. An artist took pictures of the event. After the ceremony, guests were called to a luncheon in the dining room of the home. Music was provided by friends of the bride on a piano and violin. Many guests traveled from out of town to this wedding. The article includes many of the gifts this couple receives, and this is included so one can get a flavor of the time period. The gifts received were 3 dozen teaspoons, meat fork, fruit knifer, cake spoon, 2 berry spoons, a sugar shell, a cream and sugar set, silver mounted carving set, stag handled carving set, hand painted dresser set, cut glass salt cellars, 2 centerpieces, drawn work lunch cloth, table linens, cut glass olive dish, cut glass bonbon dish, 3 watercolor paintings, sepia vase, hand painted plates, cut glass bowl, table lamp, tray cloth, 6 towels, and drawn work, a machine darner, and a silver mounted toilet set. This was all listed in the newspaper. After the wedding, the couple left in the evening train to Detroit with guests shooting fireworks and confetti. They would then go on to a boat trip to Cleveland. Philip had graduated from U of M with a degree in real estate, but by 1910, he is a superintendent of schools in Marine City, St. Clair County, Michigan. Mildred is a teacher. He and Mildred have no children and are living on 2nd Street. Mildred is 24. The couple moves at some point between 1910 and 1920. They are now living at 610 Chandler Street in Detroit. Philip is listed as a salesman. They have 2 children, Clara and Kathleen. Mildred is 35 years old. The couple continues to live in Detroit in 1930, and Philip now is working as a real estate salesman. Detroit is booming, and Mildred and her husband were a major part of this expansion. At some point after this census was taken, Philip, a salesman and teacher, developed symptoms of Alzheimer's. He will be living at the Ypsilanti State Hospital at the time of his death in 1933. Philip is buried at Oxford Cemetery. Mildred is widowed by 1940 at the age of 54. The family is still living in Detroit. She owns her own home. Kathleen and Philip Jr. are living with her. During her time in the Daughters of the American Revolution, John Crawford chapter has dedicated several monuments. The chapter dedicated in 1928 the location of the Dewey Homestead at the corner of Adams and Orion Road in Oakland County as a place where the pioneer Dewey family settled and gave birth to twins. In 1941, they dedicated a plaque to Patriot Richard Jersey in the cemetery on 29 Mile Road, Washington, Michigan. They recognized the Lakeville Church as the oldest church in Oakland County in 1942. In 1954, a marker was placed to commemorate the Territorial Road, which ran between the counties of Oakland and Lapeer. This rock has since been moved to the Centennial Park in Oxford. In 1956, Mildred Betty's Denny's passed away. Her sister Eileen passed away in 1937. At this point, a death certificate or an obituary has not been found for Mildred. She is buried at Oxford Cemetery with her husband and a baby. Her sister's grave is in the same section. The John Crawford chapter of the NSDAR wishes to recognize this highly regarded woman in history by placing the DAR insignia on her gravestone. Through learning of her life, we have witnessed bravery, courage, and grace. We honor Mildred Lenore Betty's Dennis. Thank you.
Bernice Taylor Hayes.
Bernice Irene Taylor was born February 5, 1880 in Pontiac, Michigan, to John Axford Taylor and our Dar sister Elizabeth Crawford. She appears on the 1880 federal census as a 4-month-old baby living with her parents on Saginaw Street in Pontiac, Michigan. Her father is listed as a farmer. Bernice would have had one brother named Clarence C. Taylor. By 1900, the family is living in Attica, Lapeer County, Michigan. Her father is still farming, and she is now 20 years old. On December 12, 1906, Bernice married Frederick Esmond Hayes in Emily City, Lapeer County, Michigan. The couple then moved to Detroit and lived on Helen Avenue. Frederick registered in Detroit for World War I. His occupation at the time was listed as superintendent for the SWA Railroad. He's listed as having blue eyes, light hair, and tall in stature. Well chosen, Bernice. This is the same year Bernice joined the John Crawford chapter as a Daughter of the Revolution. She joined with her mother and several cousins in that group. In 1920, the federal census has not been found for this couple, but the couple was still living in Detroit on the census in 1930 with their children, Frederick and Clarence. Frederick is a real estate broker working in the Lafayette building in Detroit. By February 6, 1940, Frederick passed away. Bernice is at the same location in Detroit on Algonquin Avenue with her sons. 10 years later, she's living at the same address with her son, Frederick, his wife, and their grandchild. Her son was registered in World War II, and Bernice was working as a church secretary. In February of 1968, in Detroit, Wayne County, Michigan, Bernice passed away. She is here in this Oxford Cemetery.
Anna E. Betty's.
Sun came out just for one.
Okay, Anna Elizabeth Betty's, national number 137945. She is a descendant of Captain John Wetmore. Anna was born April 10th, 1867 in Oakland County, Michigan. She is the daughter of William H. Betty's from New York and his wife Nancy Clark Niles. The family was an early settler to the Oxford area. We find Anna living in Oxford as early as 1870. She lives with her family and attends school in Oxford. She also attended Ypsilanti State Normal School, and it must have included training in the profession of nursing. For a time, Anna is a teacher, but in 1899, she is listed as a nurse living at 41 Brady Street in Detroit. She continues nursing as a trained nurse in Detroit until 1907 when she moves to Ann Arbor to continue her profession. She lives at 930 Packard Street in Ann Arbor with Mildred Betty's, another founding member who is also a nurse. Aunt and niece go back to Detroit in 1913 and live at 175 Smith Avenue. Both are in the nursing profession. This is a time of World War I. Both must have seen a lot. For a brief time in 1920, Anna moves back to Pontiac with her niece Mildred. They are living in a mortgaged home, and Anna is listed as a school nurse. In 1918, Dr. Aileen Betty's Corbett, a niece to Anna and her sister Mildred, has heard about the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. She gathers a group of ladies from the area, and they form the John Crawford chapter of the DAR. John Crawford was a patriot to several of the members. Anna and Mildred continue their nursing, but also become active in their DAR chapter. One article from the Oxford Leader stated, John Crawford chapter held its meeting at the home of Miss Anna Betty's. She was a hostess with Mrs. Lewis Hedrill, another founding member. A fine potluck dinner was served at noon. 13 members and 2 guests were present. Business of the meeting proceeded. An impressive memorial tribute to our departed sister was prepared. There being nothing further, the meeting was closed, all however, assuring Miss Betty's of a pleasure of the occasion. After her retirement from nursing, she returned to Oxford and built a home on Crawford Avenue. She was a devoted member of the Oxford Baptist Church. In her later years, she lived with her niece Mildred Betty's Dennis in Detroit. Anna never married and cherished her nephews. On February 27, 1943, Anna passes away. She leaves behind many wonderful family and friends who admired this strong, intelligent woman. She is buried in the Oxford Cemetery near her nieces, Mildred and Dr. Aileen Corbett Betty's.
Flower. Your flower out.
Flower. Nora Dewey Parker.
But it's amazing it's more in different places.
Nora Dewey Parker, national number 134741, was born January 1st, 1867, to Franklin B. Dewey and Charity K. North. Nora's patriot in the American Revolution was Ebenezer Dewey. His life was from 1740 to 1812. She is descended from Ebenezer's first wife, Temperance Holdridge.
Ebenezer served in the New Hampshire Civil Service as a selectman and the signer of the association. In 1870, Elnora was 3 years old and living with her parents in Oxford, Oakland County, Michigan. They have a personal estate value of 1,200. Let's start that again. $1,200. Her father is a farmer. 10 years later, Nora is going to school in Oxford and living with her parents. On January 1st, 1885, Nora marries Charles Henry Parker. Nora and Charles and son Dewey are living on Pleasant Street in Oxford in 1900. Dewey would be their only child. The couple owns a farm in Oxford, Oakland Township area. Charles is farming and Nora is keeping house, as stated on the 1910 census. The couple have been married 25 years, and Dewey has moved from the residence. However, by 1920, Nora is 50 years old and is now living on East Burdick Street in Oxford. Dewey and his wife Edith are living with Charles and Nora. Charles is listed as being not only a farmer, but the town druggist. In 1918, Nora signs as the 5th member of the John Crawford chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. This chapter was founded in the Oxford area by 7 descendants of the patriot John Crawford of New York and 7 cousins of the Dewey family. The chapter dedicated a rock at the location of the Dewey homestead at the corner of Orion Road and Adams. Nora's ancestor came early to Oakland County, Michigan. At the time, they were the only white family that was living in the area. The rock that is dedicated marks the homestead where the twin children were born to this newly settled part of Michigan. It was quite unusual for twins to survive at that time. In 1930, this couple was busy as their names appear both on the Oxford and Deerfield, Broward County, Florida federal census. Nora is 62 and Charles is 71. A trip south must have been interesting. Dewey is living in Delray Beach, Florida, and he has just 1 child. Nora was a member of the Oxford Christian Church. When that disbanded, she became a member of the Oxford Congregational Church and participated in all the activities of the ladies' societies. Nora passes away 3 years later on August 17, 1933, from complications of being a diabetic. The Tuesday before she passed, she attended a DAR meeting in Oxford, and her fellow members thought of her as being in good health. She is buried at the Oxford Cemetery. Her gravestone was marked with the DAR insignia. Today we dedicate her grave. Charles dies in 1941 at the Bliss Nursing Home in Oxford and is buried in Oxford Cemetery with her. John Crawford chapter remembers Nora Dewey Parker as a true woman in history.
Right there, Mary's hand. Yeah, his. Yeah. All right. Find my place here. We have honored those founders who wished to remember their revolutionary ancestors and to form a volunteer group of women to do good in their communities. This idea started for John Crawford the same year as women were given the right to vote, 1918. They chose John Crawford because he was the patriot of 6 of the founding daughters, including our founder and first chapter regent, Dr. Aileen Betty's Corbett. I have just a little short, we talk about Dr. Corbett all the time. Rarely do we mention actually our patriot. And he was born in 1761, January 20th, in Ulster, Orange County, New York, the son of Samuel and Anna Kidd Crawford. He mustered May 5th, 1778 for 9 months in Captain Israel Smith's company of the 3rd Regiment, Orange County, New York, militia. He served in both Ulster and Orange counties. He was discharged on February 5th, 1779. If you know your history, the war wasn't over. He went on to marry Sarah Barclay, who was born the same year as John, and they went on to have 10 children. John Crawford died November 19th, 1834, and he is buried in the Hopewell Burying Ground, which is a small cemetery in Ulster County, New York. These women were married, divorced, widowed, single, had their own money. They experienced joy, tragedy. They worked in their homes and within their community, yet they found time, energy, and treasure to give to those who needed help. Strength, commitment, wisdom, and courage pushed them forward. Let us continue the legacy of John Crawford, National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, by not only recognizing these women, but also by honoring another person who embodies the spirit of historic preservation. In order to receive this award from the DAR, it must be approved by our National Vice Chair of Historic Preservation. Letters of nomination and documents confirming a candidate's eligibility must be submitted. At this time, it is my pleasure, and I would like to read a letter given to me to support our candidate and a paragraph from the letter of our National Vice Chair of Historic Preservation, Barbara Chesney. Let's see if I can get my papers right here. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to pen this letter supporting the nomination of Drew Holt for a Historic Recognition Award. Over the last 5 years, I've gotten to know Mr. Holt quite well. I've worked with him to promote and preserve the history of Oxford Township and the village of Oxford. Based on my experiences, Mr. Holt is a tireless volunteer who is truly dedicated to the Northeast Oakland Historical Society and its unique museum in downtown Oxford. He does whatever needs to be done, and that includes the following: thoroughly researching topics, buildings of historical significance, portraying local figures during special tours at the Township Cemetery, giving educational and fun presentations at the Oxford Public Library, serving as a tour guide at the museum, helping maintain the museum and its extensive collection of artifacts, setting up quarterly displays of historical items in the Township Hall's showcase. Mr. Holt is extremely passionate about local history, and it shows in everything he does. He doesn't seek out recognition. He's not looking for a paycheck. His only goal is to teach people, particularly young people, about the past and share the stories of those who came before us, the men and women who built, guided, and shaped the place we call home. I can think of no better candidate for this award than Mr. Drew Holt. Drew, if you have any questions, which I don't, but I would like to thank CJ Carnaccio for this outstanding letter supporting what we know to be true. And I would also like to read for you the letter from Barbara Chesney. Dear Deborah, congratulations, your application submitted for the DAR Historic Preservation Recognition Award for Andrew Holt has been approved. He is a remarkable person who coordinates his love of history and historic preservation with his ability to work with community groups. His talents are far-reaching, and he generously gives his time and talents to historic preservation in your community. Barbara H. Chesney, National Vice Chair, Historic Preservation Recognition Award. So Drew, if you want to come up here, maybe I can keep these papers from flying. You know what? Come over here. We'll get away from all that. Hey, here, Phil, you got it for me? Yeah, just hold it all straight. Okay. So needless to say, I am absolutely thrilled to be in ball baby on top of giving you this award. So here we have National Daughters of the American Revolution Historic Preservation Recognition Award presented to Andrew Michael Holt for excellent volunteer work in historic preservation. And Drew, we also have, you can wear in your tie or on your lapel, we have a DAR pin for you. But, well deserved. Well deserved.
If I could just say one thing.
You can.
Yeah, it's usually more. But without history, there's no past. And without a past, there is no future. So may we continue to preserve the past of our ancestors in order to teach our children and their children and their children in the future. It's an honor to receive this award, and I look forward to continuing to preserve local history. Thank you.
I would like to mention at this time some of the monies that we used to buy these insignias were provided by a grant, as I believe Mary mentioned early. They gave us some funds to do that, and we're thrilled to spend it. I like to spend money. But one thing I heard this at a funeral, and I had never heard it before. And it just resonated with me. And Ernest Hemingway in today's world gets credit for this quote, but honestly it comes all the way from Egypt. And these doggone papers, here we go. It goes something like this. They say you die twice. One time when you stop breathing, and a second time a bit later on when somebody says your name on earth for the last time. As DAR daughters, we strive to keep saying those names, not only for our family, but for those who came before us. So I would encourage you to think about, and when you go through the cemetery, say those people's names so that they live. Thank you, everyone. We're going to have lunch at Red Knapp's. He has saved a spot for us. I appreciate all of you, and I'm thrilled with our visitors. Thank you for being here. You can tell it is a passion for us, historic preservation, education, and patriotism. That is the DAR mission, and that's what we do, is service. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for Catherine Eschenberg for writing all these reports.
Yes, Kathy, I must thank Kathy. She did all of the biographies. Thank you, Jennifer, and provided them, and she's working on the rest. So, Drew, she's a rival.